last but not least is our honoree as co-founder of Stanford's first LGBT effort, Maud Nerman. After 6 years in the anti-war movement, in 1970, Maud joined the beginning of San Francisco's gay women's liberation movement. After working with Phyllis Lyons and speaking for the Council for Religion and the Homosexual in San Francisco high schools, Maud wrote articles in the Stanford Daily about being gay in 1970 and 71. Talk about courage. Spring of 1971 started Stanford Gay's Student Union. Since graduating from Stanford, Maud's become a practicing physician, raised 3 children with her partner, and has continued the writing career she began at Stanford. Her novel, Ceremony of Innocence, and this is a plug that I wanted to make, is about the heady years of the dawning of gay liberation. Maud anticipates the publication date of 2012. She's also finishing a nonfiction book based on her many years of medical practice, You Can Get Better, Triumphing Over Pain and Injury. Maud, I'll turn the program over to you and say thank you.
This is amazing. I feel like I have 2,000 patients who are my children, but now I have an extra bunch of people. First of all, about a year ago, Ollie, who I was with in 71 when this all started, invited me up to Santa Rosa to hear Phyllis Lyon and Sally Gearhart speak. And they are real mothers of gay women's liberation in so many ways. But one of the things that really touched me was they said, most gay history is lost because most of us don't have children. That's changing more now, and I was lucky to be able to raise 3 children with my partner. But, so I think it's really important things like today and other events that people are doing, and the Clayman Institute trying to reclaim some of our past. So, and especially honoring, I think history is so critical. I grew up in a very political family. My father was on the last boat out of Portugal that allowed Jews to come to the United States. My stepfather, but he raised me, so he's my father. And we really were brought up to believe that we were placed on this planet to make a difference and to do what we could. My whole family started in the anti-war movement very early, 63. I protested, demonstrated, sat in, got arrested. And that really was the honing of my political sensibilities and the sense that you had to stand up for what you believed in. And from there, then in 1970, I went home to see my family. I'd already had friends at Stanford, some of the gay professors who had kind of taken me under their wing. They were still very much in the closet, taking me out to gay bars in San Francisco. I had to borrow an ID because I wasn't 21. But I wasn't, I wasn't quite as comfortable in that scene. It was way too butch and femme, and I thought one of the great things about being gay is you could kind of choose how you wanted to lead your life much more than heterosexuals were allowed to at the time. But when I went back in June, it was the first Gay Pride March. And with trepidation, I joined it because I hadn't come out to my family. And it was thrilling. There's Bella Abzug in her hat. I mean, it's ironic that 35 years later I went and in front of me was Hillary Clinton. So we've had our history of strong women who stood with us. So after that, I was inspired to come back to San Francisco. Somehow I found out about San Francisco's gay women's liberation. And I went to the very second meeting that they had in San Francisco. It was in a woman named Sally's house. She was straight, but Sally Gearhart was her dear friend. And the meeting was very touching. I was terrified because at bars there was a bouncer, and you would be warned if the police were going to come and arrest you. But there was no bouncer at the door, so it was scary. And it's hard to remember. I think times were even harder for gay men than for gay women. They got arrested much more often than we did. And then there was a sign-in sheet, and I was terrified when I signed in to say my name. I mean, we didn't know. We thought we could be thrown out of Stanford. Our lives could effectively be over. But I felt, and there were a bunch of women in that room, they showed the scars on their wrist, and I believe Ollie said that about half the women had already tried to commit suicide once or twice in their lives. So I felt that I had a duty. I hadn't considered suicide. I had a duty to make a difference in this world that was much more personal, but I mean, I still cared about the anti-war movement. So from there, I wrote an anonymous article initially in the Stanford Daily about being gay and how important it is. And as I got to know Ollie, we started speaking out with Council for Religion and the Homosexual with Phyllis, who was amazing. Phyllis Lyons was running. And I started talking in the high schools. Now, how I had time to do this, I don't know. But it was very inspiring, and people were so open, and the kids in the high schools were great. And I thought, okay, well, if I can do that here, I should do that at Stanford. So then in 71, I don't know if it was the winter or spring, I wrote an article that I signed my name to, and started going from dorm to dorm after dinner and talking about being gay. Most of the people who came were straight. They were coming in support. Rebecca, my best friend, she would come and support. Ollie would come down from San Francisco, and that helped encourage people. And there started to be more and more, and so I started a gay student union. I can't remember how we advertised it, but somehow we did. And, people started to come. And before I did this, I checked with the gay professors and made sure I would, being associated with me, that they wouldn't have trouble with their jobs. And they said, go for it, but they stayed in the closet. Which they needed to do. So, I mean, I think that's the main part of how it started. And, my reception at Stanford was wonderful. My friends were very supportive. Most of my teachers were great. I mean, most didn't say anything. And it was a wonderful atmosphere, and it was a great time. I enjoyed that time at Stanford much more than the first 3 years when I felt so hidden and contained and closed and terrified my friends would turn on me. So basically what I want to end up in saying is two things. One of the things I said when I spoke back 40 years ago, when I spoke at these high schools with African Americans, Hispanics, Caucasians, whatever, as I said, until gay people are freed, I mean, because we'll find each other. It might be hard, and we don't want to be, they're certainly dangerous for us. But until gay people are free, straight people aren't free. Because men will continue to be cannon fodder as long as they can be accused of not being macho, and then they're faggots, and so they go and get killed in wars. And women, can't stand up and be strong for who they are if they're going to be accused of being dykes. So we have to, we'll free ourselves, but we'll also free the whole country together. And the second thing I want to say is I never in my wildest dreams thought, if I live another 30 years, that there would be the changes we've seen in America. And now we have to fight for the changes in the rest of the world, as well as you.
Maud left out one detail, which was that she thought there were 5 members. Stanford probably has 2,000 members and growing very fast. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, very much.